Artificial intelligence and algorithms are terms that are definitely in our day-to-day, and the vast majority of people don't even realize how present they are in our lives and how they got there. The most interesting thing is that this large part of the population does not know exactly what they mean by those two terms, which are already ingrained in our day-to-day lives, and which are helping us more and more, but if we're not careful, they can also be obstacles in our development. This technology changed the course of important discussions between parents and educators. Before, we used to discuss the screen time of children and adolescents, whether the number of hours they spent in front of video games, cell phones, or television were harmful or not. Today, we no longer talk about time. Despite the fact that the use of these technologies has grown by 47.5% in the United States between 2017 and 2021, according to the Artificial Intelligence Market in the US Education Sector report, one certainty is that the role of the teacher in face-to-face classes, or even virtual ones, will continue to undergo significant changes in the immediate future, and also that their role remains fundamental. Our stories today show how understanding the power of artificial intelligence and algorithms will be critical for these technologies to be used ethically. You will hear stories and experiences from young people who are not yet aware of how much these technologies are present in their lives. And you will also hear teachers talking about helping and integrating homework and school teaching with this cutting-edge technology. We begin by listening to Carlos, a teenager living in the coastal town of Guatemala, who discovered how the interactions of tourists on social media affected the people in his community, and especially in the surf school he attends.
I'm Carlos, and I want to tell you a funny story that happened to me. It took me a while to understand it well. I live near the beach since I was 7 years old, and I have been training as a surfer. This was the way my parents allowed me to be with my friends. I surf very well, and it has been a while since I could have stopped taking lessons. But my instructor said that if I wanted to, I could start giving lessons to tourists. It's sunny here all year round, and foreigners love to spend the winter in my town. I started teaching the tourists little children and teenagers, and little by little, fathers and mothers started taking classes with me because they said I was very funny. I was always a class clown, always making bad jokes and laughing. As you know, tourists love to take pictures and videos and post them on Instagram, on TikTok. I didn't know it, but they started making videos and tagging me on their posts. Suddenly, a lot of foreigners started following me. There were so many people talking to me in English that I had to start studying it hard to understand what was going on. I downloaded a language learning app, and after a while I started responding. And the best part, I started booking lessons for these people's trips. And the crazy thing is the profiles changed to English after I started responding.
What Carlos had not realized in his story is that the algorithms of his social networks began to identify his interaction in English and understood that changing the language was the logical thing to do. Algorithms learn from our interactions and also from our devices, improving our user experience as we use them.
Before I knew it, I was speaking English better than ever. I get a lot of followers, and nowadays I understand better what happens in all these networks. The more I talked about myself, the more I got likes and comments from people, and more people came to talk to me. Getting a lot of likes is great, isn't it?
The more you post, comment, engage, the more your data is being used to make everything interact in a more intimate and familiar way. Although we think that this is an ideal world, that everything on the network works for the benefit of the user, so that he can make the most of his experience on the network. In fact, algorithms work for advertisers and companies to identify a certain type of user, the one most likely to interact with their products and services. and they begin to offer the user, based on their searches, what they want to sell. Artificial intelligence gives, but takes a lot in return. In other words, artificial intelligence uses much of your experience on the network and eventually gives you something in return.
Hi, I'm Jane. Yeah, that's the same name as Tarzan's girlfriend. During the pandemic, without having face-to-face classes, I had to share a cell phone with my sister so we could be in online classes. I'm 15-year-old and my sister is 9. Can you imagine the fights every day? The situation was very complicated, and my parents, along with other parents with the same problem at home, complained to the school. The solutions was for the school to separate our classes schedules. The good thing about it was that classes stopped being boring. Teachers just talking, writing on the board and telling us to copy it. And it became way more interactive with games instead of homework, with marathons instead of tests.
This is a clear example of how artificial intelligence can be effective when linked to education. These games and marathons are nothing more than didactic ways of presenting classes, lessons, and exams. It is possible that one day Jane will encounter a Tarzan that has nothing to do with what she saw in the movies, but created exactly as she would like it to be.
My sister never really liked going to school and she is addicted to video games. And suddenly, she became a great student. She even helps her teacher by creating lessons based on LoL, League of Legends, the game she loves so much. I started thinking differently because of these these games. I was never good at math, but it didn't take me long to understand that the equations that confused my mind were no more and no less different type of game strategies. It also helped me to find answers on school websites with materials that helped me to solve the most difficult problems. I never thought I could learn a subject that way.
Numerous tools already exist for teachers and educators, and new ones are appearing every day. More and more powerful ones and efficient for specific cases. When Jane seeks help with a math problem and finds the solution in a literature text or a video game, it is artificial intelligence that takes the student out of his comfort zone and shows him the infinite possibilities of broader thinking. The ethics of social networks, companies, and large media conglomerates are often far from what they should be. When they encounter breaches like Arthur's, they use artificial intelligence and algorithms and end up going beyond the boundaries of individuals' privacy, provoking ethical questioning. That's why media and information literacy helps us understand exactly what we do online. We must also pay attention to those around us and help our family and friends who may also be falling into these traps. How many stories from this episode can you relate to? Do you know anyone who has gone through a similar situation? Do you think that media and information literacy is essential for artificial intelligence and algorithms on the web to be ethical? This was another episode of our podcast.